Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, dear Dhamma friends, and now you most of time at home, and especially during this time period, now will already become kind of like 1 year, and during this time, it kind of like shift our life to different dimension, and at the same time, it gave us certain kind of opportunities to rethink, rebuild, reverse, review regarding our own life, our own activities, our own practice, our own lifestyle, and all own goals and the desires, purpose. So it is a good opportunity for you to recognize who you are and your capacities. Because when it comes to this human life, you are kind of like this sky. Your mind is very unique. Even though we experience more machines and technology during this time period playing a game and overtaking our life, but still you have to remember there is no way that these machines and technology can become equal to the mind you have. It is so big that it's kind of like this sky. Look at this sky. You can put anything to this sky. It is limitless. Your mind also the same like that. It is limitless, and you can bring anything to it. But the thing is, when you become very limited, and when you become tired, when you become afraid to find that space and get into that space and open that space, naturally you become a very limited person within your own thoughts. Not within the mind, it is just within your own thought, because the mind has its own capacity itself. The reason is the mind is depending on the conditions, cause and conditions. It is not depending on that through the self as you think, because there is no self. So, but the thing is, mostly we are more careless regarding cause and conditions. We are more into kind of like things that what we have. We don't care who we are, what we are, or and what we build inside us. We don't care. And even especially these children and young generation, and sometimes we see even the elders and have that kind of mindset. They become more careful regarding what they have. But without recognizing who you are, if you don't have clear understanding what you have, do you think that you can bring something good out of it? That's why when people have a lot of material things, and when they have a lot of things around them, sometimes their life become more miserable. That doesn't mean you should not have it. You should have it. Whatever you want, you should have it. This is your life. You can have it. But at the same time, you have to remember, you have to develop your inner values also. You have to be matured within your understanding. You have to be matured within your awareness. And that maturity and that awareness, have whatever you want. It's nothing wrong. Then you going to be the best person to have, and you're going to be the best person to own this material world, because you know how to get things out of it. Otherwise, you become kind of like a demon. You hold everything around you, but you don't know to get something out of this material world. So the awareness and the recognition giving you that power. So activating that power is art. And so then to activate that power, and you have to keep the freedom inside you, rather than becoming a prisoner, always depending from something, and rather than becoming very limited to material world or emotions or the desires or the pleasure. You have to be free. That doesn't mean you should not have it. You can have anything, but the freedom, inside freedom, is something else. So through the meditation, we're trying to develop inside this freedom. That doesn't mean you should go away from the world. Buddha never taught that. That is the very different with the Buddhism. When it comes to the Theravada, the Buddhism, it is very different from more than any other the practice. That's why from the ancient time to today, that through this vipassana, the, there are there are many enlightened masters. There are many people got the wisdom out of this. So this is your opportunity. So we're trying to provide the necessary information, but at the same time, it is depend on your practice. So Buddha never taught there is no world. Even before he became the Prince Siddhartha, he came from the heaven. And when you look at from the heaven, he saw the world. So what is the world that he saw? He didn't see the form, feeling, sensation, formation, recognition. He saw the earth, and otherwise he never went to and land somewhere else. Look at this universe. So the world, another way, is this earth is the world. One thing. Another thing is, when it comes to the life, that as human beings, that we as a community, as people, we play certain role in this world. That also the world. As example, when we say this world is so corrupted, so what does that mean? It is not about your form, feeling, sensation, formation, recognition. That's mean human behavior. So the whole human behavior is kind of like a world. That doesn't mean the earth is corrupted, land is corrupted, trees or the sun, moon corrupted. No, our human behavior corrupted. So then human behavior, another way, is the world. And then when it comes to our personal life, this all we experience through the form, feeling, sensation, formation, and recognition. So that is our 5 aggregates. So when you look for the self-liberation, transformation, you cannot go with the world that related to this universe, or you cannot go with the people. You have to look for this your inner experience. You have to start from that, because you have to start from where you are. Whatever the things you have to start with that. That is where the epicenter come to this universe. So your form, feeling, sensation, formation is the epicenter. It doesn't matter who you are or whatever. It's like, remember, look at this universe. It is limitless. So, and sometimes it said, oh, sun is the center. That's sometimes in the ancient time, people used to tell like that. Sun is the center. Any star can be the center of this universe, because there is no limit. So like that, you can be the epicenter of this human world. You can be the epicenter of this entire universe. It is your choice. It is your understanding. If you willing to be like that, it going to it then, because there is no initiation going to happen until, because you are living in this vast universe, but at the same time you holding a place. If you don't care about it, who going to care about that? Because there is no any other person can complete that what you have. Each and every human being different, and there is inside you, there is a different capacity, there is a different current, there is a different energy, there is a different wisdom, that if you don't activate it, if you don't look for it, if you don't care about it, no one can help for that. So through the meditation, in the very beginning, what we trying to help you to recognize that. Because once you recognize it, you start to look for it. When you start to look for that, you recognize deeply how it happening. When you recognize that, that is where you can bring something good out of it. So the best that you can bring out of it, the clear comprehension of the awareness, recognition. But that to get into that, you have to have practice. Without practice, there is no way. Maybe there are some other teachings to attain to or gain something, then you can follow. It is up to you. But this is about your own practice to get into the depth of the your inner experience. So that is the vipassana. Vipassana is not about something. There are a lot of things in the world, and there and maybe we experience, we don't experience, we have no capacity. There are a lot of things in the world. Let it be. But how about your experience? Are you aware about that? That is what we talk about when it comes to vipassana. So then always remember in the beginning that it is very important to give this validation within yourself to open that truth. That's why you sit. That's why you come to the posture. Otherwise, sitting, keep your back straight, your right palm on your left, is closing your eyes. It's not going to bring anything. But it giving the self-discipline, it help you to slowly settle down to inside you. So once you have it, you start to recognize the deeply the sensation happening within us. And when you observe it, you're going to recognize the magic. That is the real magic. That is the real, that the the game that you're going to see how this everything happening inside us. So once you experience that, you're not going to anymore caught up with that. So it is happen like that. This all based with the, as you know, when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, all the fundamental teachings based with the, especially in the Theravada tradition, impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, and selflessness. That doesn't mean there is no world. We are accepting the world, but there is no permanent thing in the world. So mostly how we can access this knowledge and how we can gain this, how we can experience this. This is very important. As example, it like this. So you take this pen and somebody say, oh, everything impermanent. So then you come and you see this pen as impermanent. That doesn't work, because that is what we keep practice. That doesn't work. The reason, somebody told you or somewhere you read it, and then you take it as a knowledge. So when you go with that knowledge, when you see the pen, you don't see the pen, because you already have an idea about the pen, and then you going to recognize, oh, when you see the pen, the impermanent idea, that impermanence idea, come to this pen. You don't see the pen. When you don't see the pen independently, clearly, without any bias, without any holding ideas, you cannot recognize what is the pen. So they everything same. So whatever that's why we cannot access this truth, because we hold it to the knowledge we are, oh, impermanent, oh, all the dukkha, unsatisfactory nature. So if you cannot see the pen, you cannot recognize what this is. And then you cannot overtake this. You bound, somehow you bound to it. So that's why the world, in the very first level, we accepting the world, we accepting we exist. So then what about the impermanent? So this is what. In the beginning, you have to accept this as the pen. It's the common sense. So conventional truth. You have to accept this. You cannot throw this. You cannot abuse this. You have to respect to this. That's why it's based with the seal. That means the practicing discipline and becoming disciplined and giving more practicing moral practice, ethics. So we have to follow that in the beginning. So that's become the point, because then you come to a point to accept things and with the respect. That is very necessary in this journey. You cannot criticize anything. You cannot neglect anything. You cannot destroy anything. You have to accept the whatever appear to you. You cannot tell, oh, this is impermanent. You know, when you're going to marry, if you're going to see a boyfriend or girlfriend, you cannot tell this is impermanent, this is unsatisfactory nature, this is suffering. You cannot tell the thing like that way. No. So then how you can, because we have a life, we cannot neglect that. When there is a baby come, you cannot tell as a mother or father, oh, this is impermanent, this is suffering. You cannot tell like that. Where are that kind of teachings going to exist? Where are that kind of teachings can bring a wisdom to you? Because when the beginning of the life, it become depressed. When you become depressed or when you have the fear, do you think you can understand something? No. So then you have to accept the life. You have to accept the things. That is the Theravada, the Buddha's teaching. You cannot destroy anything. You cannot escape from anything. You have to accept it. But then how you can get into that? So that today, that is what we're going to learn. Remember this. Once you learn that, you're going to go to different kind of, the dimension to see this. This is what. So when it comes to vipassana, we not observing the pen or the light or the phone or the computer. We're not going to observe like that. We start with our form, feeling, sensation, formation, recognition. So when it comes to the form or whatever appears to our mind as thought or as a picture, if you in the very first level, you have to accept it. So as example, the sensation. When you observe the sensation, as I mentioned in the beginning, you cannot bring impermanent idea to the sensation before you recognize the sensation. Because if you have the impermanent idea regarding it is impermanent, if you have that idea, You cannot see. Why? Because the mind can have one thought at one time. So if you have the selfless idea, with that idea, when you see the sensation, you're not going to see the sensation. So if you have the unsatisfactory nature as an idea, with that idea, when you look the sensation, you're not going to see the sensation. So if you cannot see the sensation, you caught up as thoughts, then you caught up in the idea of impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, selflessness, but you never experience it. It become kind of like a curtain wall. It never giving access to that. So then how? So when you going to see, in the beginning, you have to recognize the form. Forget about the impermanent, unsatisfactory nature or selflessness. See the form and observe it. When you observe, you're going to see in that form there is impermanent. The form you recognize, not permanent. So that is come when in the beginning you recognize the form. And then when you observe in the form, you recognize it change. But if you recognize the form, before you recognize the form, if you think this all change, you're not going to see the form. And then when you observe deeply, 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 and then you recognize this form deeper, in that form there is unsatisfactory nature. And when you recognize deeply, deeply, you recognize in that form selfless. Why? Because itself it change. It doesn't have any strength or power to hold it to the same thing. And feeling. So for sometimes in the beginning that as the concept, it is very for some people it is very difficult to get what is the form. So sensation or the feeling, form, feeling. So feeling, when you see feelings, in the beginning you have to see the feelings. Forget about everything and just recognize exactly the very clear feeling. When you keep observing the feeling, you're not going to see any magic. If your mind become very clear and know any previous thought and you know comparison, so that's why we practice the tranquility meditation to get into that. And when you see the feelings, you're going to see that feeling change. So in the beginning, you recognize the feeling clearly. And when you go deeper, deeper, in that recognition, there is a wisdom come, the feelings change. And when you keep observing, you're going to see there in that feeling, there is no any kind of satisfaction can bring. So you're not going to put as an idea on the top of the feelings. You're going to get into the feeling and you recognize, you become very clear and keep observing the feeling without any idea, with the free mind. That's why we practice tranquility meditation. So when you see observing, now you recognize that feelings arise according to the conditions. When the form change, feeling changes. So that's mean that whatever you recognize as feeling has no any authority to exit itself, because it depends on form. When the form change, feeling change. So that is a recognition that you gain through observing the sensation. Not you going to observe the sensation with the idea impermanent or unsatisfactory nature or selflessness. If you go with that, you're not going to get it. So then, feeling, sensation, the same thing. If you observe very clearly the sensation, you separately recognize what is a sensation. And then you keep observe, you're going to see it change. And when you keep observing, you recognize it has a nature that with the unsatisfactory nature, related with the unsatisfactory nature. There is no kind of like you can get into, oh, it's like this or like that. And also it depending on feeling. And whatever the sensation you recognize, you know itself, it cannot going to be there. You recognize it through observing. That observation is the practice. And then the mind, thoughts. So whatever thought arise related to that sensation, you observe. In the beginning, you have to recognize the thought. When you recognize the thought and observe the thought, you recognize that thought change. It is not the idea you put on it. It is not already you learn somewhere and you mesmerize your mind with the change, everything change, and then you go and see the thought with that idea. Oh, this should be changed. This should be changed. It's not like that. You cannot observe this kind of like a way that you going to see the sunrise, because you already have a idea it's going to come. So you cannot observe your thoughts like that way. And the awareness the same. You cannot see the awareness with the idea change. In the beginning, you have to recognize what is awareness. And then you see it deeply. And then you gain the wisdom out of your own inner observation. So that's how the form, feeling, sensation, recognition that come to a point. So now this is the game. So form is it has a different nature. It's a different. It's not related to it. It's nothing to do with the sensation. So whatever come to your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. So in the very personal point, as a picture, as a sound, as a smell, as a taste, as a feeling, or as a idea. So whatever come to you, that is form. It is different. And then sensation, it has a different kind of mechanism. When the form arises, the sensation arises, it is a different mechanism. That's why it separately mentioned 5 aggregates. And the form, feeling, sensation. So the sensation has a completely different mechanism than the feelings. So the formations, and the formations have the different mechanism than these 3. And the recognition has a different mechanism. So now you recognize this. This is all come together called experience. So now you recognize it. That's why you slow down your mind, you observe. You can do this because you have that capacity. So now you see the form, feeling, sensation, formation, recognition. So listen this very carefully then. So you observe the form to the bottom. And then you saw It has nature, it inside, not what as idea you put on it. You have a pre-mind and you went and observed deeply. And observe it deeper, 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 and you saw there is nothing, it always change. And you saw unsatisfactory nature. And you saw selflessness. So that is the wisdom you got. Not somebody taught you. Because you went with the pre-mind and observed it. So the Buddha is the one who telling you, go with the pre-mind. Because are the most teachings giving you, you have to be like this, you have to be like that, so like that way. Buddha is the one who in the human history, to the first time, through the Vipassana told you, completely be free and without any thoughts. Why? Because by the knowledge, people hold the world. As you know, that through the language, through the knowledge, it's like a hierarchy. Everybody hold everything. That is the power. The religion, behind the religion, there is a power held by people, and their emotions, their feelings, their needs hide inside the religion. So when it comes to Vipassana, you get out of that all. There's no even that the Buddha not going to be your leader when you come to the Vipassana. Even you get out of the Buddha, you become completely pre-independent. And with that mind you go. That freedom given through this sasana. The secure, it protected you through the name of the religion, but when it comes to sitting, it giving total freedom. It's like you going to the playground rather than playing on the road. Because when you play in a playground, you are more protected and secure, and you have more already necessary tools and the necessary things. You don't need to afraid for anything. Looking here, vehicle come, or if it's bicycle come or something like that. No, you just play with the free mind. So the sasana, the community is like that. Once you come to this, you free. So that is the deeper, it's a hide truth behind this. So you go with the free mind and you observe and you recognize. You saw the form and you recognize impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, selflessness. And then you go to the feeling and you observe that. And then you recognize impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, selflessness. And then you saw sensation. It is different. You observe that. What is this sensation? What is there? Is there any, maybe you miss their self, or maybe I will find the self here, or I will find some permanent thing here. Or you go to sensation and you observe it to the bottom and you saw impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, selflessness. And now you have thought, that means formations, the sanskara or whatever related to your past experience, because you knew this as a pen. Somewhere you learn this thing, and when you recognize this, you already have all the memory related to this pen that help you to come to this moment to hold this. And you go to deeper that and observe. And you recognize that also change. And that also impermanent. And that also not, there is no self. Why? Because it depending from whatever next to it. Otherwise, without these three, the formation cannot happen. Now you saw, you are on the way, now you saw it. So it is a knowledge you gain through yourself, through by observing. That observation is practice. And then you go to, out of this all, you recognize something as, oh, this is this. So then recognition, you keep observed to the bottom. And then when the form change, you recognize feelings change, sensation change, formation change, and according to that, recognition change. So okay, you keep observing that, then you recognize even this recognition, there is no permanent, something kind of like a satisfaction, or even not a self. Your recognition not happen because of yourself. It happened according to these things. That is the knowledge you gain. So now see, form, feeling, sensation, formation, recognition, 5 different things, 5 different behavior, 5 different characters. But now you saw something similar. What you saw? Impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, selflessness. Impermanent, just take one, don't go to all the 3. Just take impermanent, 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 impermanent. By observing, you saw it. So this is what happening there. So now when you see all these 5, even though you see all these 5 different, separate, and visible, out of these all 5 things, out of that what you see, beyond that, your mind going to get something similar. That is what your wisdom. What is you see? Impermanent. It is not there. It is not going to you cannot tell to somebody, it is impermanent. No, you cannot tell that. But that is what as a knowledge we hold it to things. There's nothing wrong with that. People can go with it because there is a validation for that. But when it comes to real practice, this is what happening. When you see these things, 5 things, you see it separately, different character, different behavior. But now you see underneath this all 5, something similar. That is impermanent. That what you see is the wisdom you gain, and that doesn't mean you're going to go against this anything and you saying there is no form, no feeling, no sensation, no formation, no recognition. You're not going, but you accept it, but you're not going to accept it. And that's why I say there is a world, there is a mirage. There is a world, but there is an illusion. There is a world, but there is a dream. So what's the dream? If you don't see what is the underneath. So if you see this as a form, feeling, sensation, formation, or recognition, you see it, but you didn't see what is inside it. So then maybe you separate things and you validate things and you take it here and there. You spending so much time to maintain this, but you didn't see this all similar to something. So then that's the 5 aggregates. Then you come to the world. So now you practice, now you learn the method. So this is the technique now you master inside you. Now you come to something outside world. You accept this now, because now you already done that the difficult part. When this pen appear, that appearance happens out of your form, feeling, sensation, formation, recognition, and you accept it. That's why you because you knew there are 5 things, you accept it. But deeper, what happening inside you, underneath that all, there is impermanent. When you have that wisdom, even though this pen so beautiful, nice, up and down, you can do many things, there is no desire, you go towards it. That is where you drop the chandaraga, that means the desire to go and get it. So then you see it, and maybe you worship it, and maybe you bite it, and maybe you play with it, and you do whatever you want, whatever the according to the common sense, you go with it. But that doesn't mean you have desire to hold this to as a pen, because maybe the world will worship it. It's okay, because whatever you did, you saw, it is very simple. Whatever you know, your children don't know. And as a mother, that whatever the way you cooked, the husband and all other, everybody whoever eating, they don't know. They have no idea how they can. So like that, it's always different. So you respect. If somebody come and worship this pen, you're not going to tell, hey, this pen impermanent, this is a pen. You're not going to tell that. Telling that way doesn't work. But for you become more calm, relaxed. You accept it. But deeper inside you, there's no struggle. So then remember, for everything, then there's nothing to let go. There's nothing, no desire, because there is nothing to hold. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I stay away from this. There's nothing like that turbulence inside you. You just become completely free, relaxed, and you accept everything. You allow things to become, settle down itself. You're not going to fight with anybody. If anybody say, oh, this is the most powerful thing, you say, oh, that's right. This is okay. Let it be. So like that, see how the change happening. So then remember, it is not the idea you put on something you see, or even within your inner experience. Oh, no. In the beginning, have a very comfortable, undisturbed mind. That's why we practice samatha, tranquility meditation. Have an undisturbed mind to see what this is. And once you see it, recognize underneath what is there. And according to that recognition, the wisdom will arise. So then whatever you say, that not through your ideas or the concept you're going to see it, you're going to see it with your free mind. And that freedom is not because of believing, not because of following, not because of somebody told you, not because of the fear. No, you got it through practice, experience, by observing. Only the skill you have developed, observation. It's become the master. Why? Because you did this everything with the one skill. What is the skill you use to see that all? To observe, observe, observe. So once you master that, there's nothing can escape from your observation. There's nothing. Even finally, the mind that you used to observe, also there is a power. You're going to recognize the very nature of that. Why? Because you start to see the out of your observation, out of whatever the object that you observe, your observation depends. So that is the day you get out of even through that observation. You become completely free. So that freedom is called your liberation. That freedom called your transformation to Nibbana. That is the ultimate bliss. So it is possible. It is possible by your own effort, validating you are a human being and validating you have that strength and activating it by practice. So with that, I bless upon everyone. With this good practice, may all of you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, may no difficulties come to you, may no problems come to you. May you also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties in your life. During this time period, may everyone stay healthy and safe. And finally, may all of you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sabbityo vajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavat antarayo sukhi digayuko bhava. Ittavata cha ammi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhuta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya idam me punya kammang asavakkaya hotu Sabba dukkha pamunchatu. Bless.